Yo, people, welcome to another Retro Reverb Record interview. And today I am with the artist Glome. Glome, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm Glome. I'm from Sunnyvale, California. Been in the synthwave scene for maybe about 4 or 5 years now, and I'm really happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. And what can we call you today?
Glome. You can just call me Glome.
Glome. Yeah. Okay. Listen, Glome, thank you so much for coming on. You're actually we've been running these interviews now for a little bit, but you are in fact our very first non-retro reverb record artist interview. So you have the pleasure of being the first to do that, and we are absolutely delighted to have you on board. So listen, I'm going to go straight into questions. That's how I roll.
Sure.
Talk to me about the artist name Glome. Where did it come from?
Man, you know, it's really been a little name I've used since I was a kid, just to sign off on. It doesn't really mean anything, but it's just been, since I was a little boy, I've gone by that, all my usernames in every possible social media network, and it just stuck with me over the years. It really doesn't mean anything, but I like the idea that it kind of suggests like glowing, you know, like maybe some kind of retro neon glow. So I thought it works. It works.
Sorry, that was a nickname as a kid, or just like a username for computer games and so
yeah,
with no particular reason, just came about.
Nah, those are the best names, I think. They don't really have a reason. They just get stuck in your head for some whatever reason, and then you just go with it, and that's your name.
Oh, actually, do you know what? It sounds really weird. I don't go by this anymore, but when I was, you know, a youth, I'm old now. I was called Cog for some reason. I could not tell you where it came from. COG, Cog. I don't know why, but I guess it's one of those things. So listen, Glome. I was having a look through your Bandcamp page today, because obviously I was interested in your music and your artwork and what was going on. One of the things that struck me immediately about your Bandcamp page is am I right in saying it's all singles?
Yes, it's all singles.
Okay.
Singles.
So yeah. Do you want like that in itself is slightly unusual in today's music world. Talk me through what's. I mean, let me just quickly take my notes here. I'll put my old man glasses on. Hold on 1 second. Okay. I think I can see the earliest release here is maybe February 2016.
Yeah.
And then the latest release was September, just very recently, 2020. So we've got about 4 years there, and over the course of 4 years, there must be 20 or 30 singles that you've released in that time. So talk me through your thinking about the singles, no EPs, no albums, what's going on?
Man, you know, everybody, I get this a lot because I do have so many singles, and really I think most artists feel that way. Like the stuff you actually see is just the tip of the iceberg, right? I have hundreds of songs I've written in the last couple of years. It's just most of it never sees the light of day. And I think the reason an EP or an album has never really materialized is just because I'm impatient, first of all. Once I write something, I want people to hear it. I want to put it out in the world immediately. You know, I immediately want to get that feedback and that fun and excitement of putting my creation out to the world. So that's really, I think that's probably more than anything. I am just impatient as hell. And I like living on that, going off that rush you get when you create something you're really proud of, you really want to share it with people. You know, so a lot of my friends who are more savvy than I am in terms of marketing and stuff like that, they're always like, no, like you got to plan it out. You got to have a press kit. You got to get everything out there. I just kind of just dump everything out everywhere and hope people find it and like it. And it's worked well for me so far. But yeah, I say that's the main reason.
You know what? There is an argument for both sides, right? Like as a person who runs a record label, I have been advocating good promotion and, you know, like build it up and stuff like that. But I can also see a lot of successful people out there like Alpha Chrome Yayo and maybe Time Slave Recordings or Michael Flamingo, who release quite or Aztec as well, who release quite regularly. And I think we're in a, I don't know if you agree or not, but I think we're in a situation now where people are able to take control of their own releases to a certain degree. And as long as the quality's there, as long as the production value is there, the mixing and the mastering is good. And they've just put enough effort into the artwork and possibly a video and stuff. It doesn't matter if it's coming out super regularly or there's a little bit. There's pros and cons to both, which is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And I was looking through your Bandcamp page, which is really nice, by the way. And by the way, links in the descriptions below. I'll put a little link in there just in case so everyone sees after the video. I like to do that. Anyway, there'll be a link to your Bandcamp page there. But one thing I didn't notice was a consistency with the artwork, but I did notice a consistency with the sound. So talk to me about your sounds. So you've been involved in the scene for 4 years. Do you feel it's progressed, or do you feel that there's been a consistent sort of progression of a sound that you're building up? It's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of airy. There's a kind of quite a lot of soft synths in there. Very nostalgic kind of sound. That's what I got. I mean, and I'm just talking. I glimpsed through say 5 or 6 tracks, and there was about 20 on there. I couldn't listen to them all. Sorry. But that's it. You know, I did some of my homework, and that's the impression I got. So tell me what you think.
All right, so in terms of my sound, I never really try to intentionally create a certain sound. It just kind of so happened that whatever I like, whatever my ears are enjoying at the moment, you know. So yeah, you're right. There's definitely a lot of like dream wave kind of stuff that's on my Bandcamp. But really, I play around with all kinds of styles. I'm a big metalhead. I love metal, so I love like some of the more aggressive artists like Master Boot Record. He's one of my favorites. I love the really harsh digital noises. He does all kinds of cool like guitar-esque sounds, you know. So I love that. And as you can see, I love guitars. That's my bass back there.
Yeah. Right? Is that your studio behind? Are you in your studio now?
My bedroom / studio? Yes.
Yeah, well,
absolutely. Yeah. I get to my axe right here. Yep. All in reach for whenever I get inspiration. But you know, I guess in terms of the inspirations, I really love industrial rock. Like 9 Inch Nails was one of my favorite bands growing up, which says a lot about me as a teenager, right? But just the angst, you know, and the pain and the anger going on. But Trent Reznor, I think he's a brilliant engineer, brilliant musician in so many ways. And I just love that blend of the rock instruments with, you know, the more electronic instruments. And then synthwave, really, the reason I started digging the synth stuff was because of course, the classic indie video game Hotline Miami. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, just the coolest, most intense, passionate music, and has this it's so full of feeling and memory and nostalgia, and it just is like was like nothing I'd ever heard before. And it was really video games and video game music that kind of led me to the point where it's like, okay, I want to create this myself.
So if I'm understanding you, if I'm hearing you correctly, we're talking about a guy who was really involved in like 80s games, but came from maybe a metal background. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah. So
yeah.
Let me ask you a question then, because you know, hands up, I admitted earlier on I hadn't heard all your tracks. Have I missed any sort of like sort of guitar solo heavy tracks in the sort of discography that was on there?
All right. So one of the tracks on my Bandcamp is called Free to Roam, and that one is kind of like my love letter to Freebird by Lynyrd Skynyrd. So it's got like a long ass guitar solo in it. I'm still new to guitar. I've only been playing guitar for a couple of years, so a lot of this, I wouldn't put something up on my page unless I thought I'd actually done a decent job playing the guitar. So there's not a ton of guitar related stuff, but I also have a few metal projects I'm working on the side. My friends and I have a death metal band called Thrashic Park instead of Jurassic Park, and we all dress up as dinosaurs. It's dino metal, right? I'll share the links to all that too if you guys are interested.
Thank you very much. Hey, listen, so I was just thinking about Lynyrd Skynyrd. I mean, what's that track with the longest guitar intro ever?
Freebird.
Free Birds. Yeah.
Freebird.
The drop in Free Bird is, for me, is absolutely Amazing. I just love it when it gets to that point. Hey, so listen, so I'm right. You're from LA, yeah? Have I got that
California.
right?
No,
California.
San Francisco. San Francisco.
California. Just quickly, this wasn't one of the questions, but I mean, what's going on with the scene down there? What's happening?
Oh man, the synthwave scene is pretty darn big in San Francisco. No, there's still a lot of like, obviously web streams and stuff like that going on. But there is a venue called the DNA Lounge in San Francisco, and they have a event called Turbo Drive, and that's actually as far as I know, that's the longest running like synthwave show in America. So they've been doing Turbo Drive, and it's all kinds of artists show there. I think the last people I saw at Turbo Drive was Lucy in Disguise and Tonebox I saw last year, right? So it's like there's a lot of bigger artists than that go there. And it's just kind of like a monthly thing they do, a monthly like synthwave show, and they've been doing that for a few years now. So definitely a lot of really the culture here in the Bay is centered around DNA Lounge.
Is it difficult to get involved with that, or because there's a lot of people got like involved in the scene, or are they kind of cool, open people? Looking for new artists, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like most about the scene is that people are very open-minded, very friendly, very approachable. Like I introduced myself to Jonas, who is Tonebox, and we had a great chat. We ended up working on some stuff together. Everyone's very humble, very cool. We're all just a bunch of weirdos who are, in our brains, we're still stuck 40 years in the past. So I think there's a certain level of weirdness we're willing to accept from each other. So I dig it.
I think there's a guy down your neck of the woods called Jack Sin. He does interviews as well. I think he's from California as well. Do you know what? It's something I'm really interested in. Obviously running the label, got sort of 15 artists. We are absolutely 100% interested in coming down to America. And touring and playing and getting to know some of you guys down there and building bridges, because I think the scene is starting to connect around the world. I'm here in Sicily, sunny Sicily, but I'm from London originally, and there's in Scandinavia there's a load of people, there's Germany, it's coming from Japan. And I think we can only benefit from this kind of thing, actually. So I'm really glad that you've reached out and asked to be involved in this. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Right. Who does your artwork?
I do all the artwork. I do all.
You just do it yourself, yeah? Just on Photoshop or whatever, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And any particular inspiration, or is it just each one is an individual project? And
yeah, for me, it's like, every artwork is an individual project, just like every song is an individual project. And I like to start from scratch every time I work on any piece of music or any piece of art. I don't like to use like a pre-built template. I like to just start trying shit and see what works, right? So that's my creative process. And sometimes I find something I like, sometimes I don't. But I never want to. I think once you get to the more intermediate phase of being an artist, so much of the work is more about unlearning than learning, right? Because you pick up all these bad habits, all these things you repeat over the years, and there's kind of just the point where you take stock and you're like, okay, what do I really need to move forward and to progress my art? So I spend a lot of time doing that, just breaking down my current process and starting from scratch.
And I think that's especially true when you cross genres as well, because you sort of go, who am I? Where am I at? What skills do I need? And you start to unlearn stuff. Oh, this worked before, but it doesn't now. Yeah, I can completely agree with that. Anyway, the artwork looks good, and the whole Bandcamp the Bandcamp page looks really good. Right, talk to me then. Look. Okay, so you're a synthwave artist, right? You've been involved in the scene 4 or 5 years, we're saying now, yeah?
4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep.
Right, so in that time, describe the sort of journey or the sound that you feel that you are producing, or that from where you started and where it's gone to, etc. Just talk to me about your sound and what's happening with you.
Sure. Oh, man. I think I really started out doing much more pure synth stuff, right? I didn't have a lot of instruments. I didn't have a guitar. I didn't have, I still don't have any analog synths. All my synths are digital. And I just started from that basic.
What are you using?
Oh, I love Serum. I love Diva. I love Sound Toys products. I love Waves plugins. There's so many. Oh God.
And what DAW are you on? Just that's
I like FL Studio. FL Studio is my favorite.
Hey, FL Studios. Here we go. Yeah, we're in the club.
Really? Oh man, hell yes. Now we're family, man. We both have FL. There you go. There you go. I just, for me, FL is the one DAW, and I've tried a few. It lets you figure out your own workflow. It doesn't have a certain way of doing things, or you have to do it if you want things to get done with the program. FL Studio lets you do whatever you want. Yeah. So that's what I like about it.
And lifetime upgrades is always useful, guys. Let's do FL. Yeah. Right, here we go. Now I'm joking.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, where were we going? So we were talking about the development of your sound and
yeah, right. So it started out more with like the harsher synth sounds, and then I started listening to a lot of artists like Time Cop 1983. And they really, I love the warm pads, the warm sounds, slightly more atmospheric than say something like Outrun, where it's like, pure insanity, intensity, I just found myself being drawn to a lot of like mood music, mood music for reflection and for, I don't say meditation, but, music that takes you into your own world, into your own space, and just lets you be there. That's what for me, that's one of the things I love most about music is the personal relationship to the piece of music that really is in your own head and no one else will ever understand it. It's just like reading a book or whatever. So
no, I completely, I 100% agree. Go on.
That became just wanting to, if there's anything I focus on my music, it's that. I want the music to take you inside of yourself to your own inner world. Let it maybe help you reflect on your life or things in your life or just this whole insane existence that we're all caught up in. And maybe give you a little bit of peace, a little bit of understanding. So that's how music has always helped me, and it's always healed me for all the crazy bull crap in my life. So that's what I hope others would get to.
Synth meditation wave.
I mean, I don't like to say that makes it sound really boring. That like it makes it sound like it's like just like bells getting chimed. Like no, there's some intensity. There has to be some drama and some passion in it too. Not just Om. So that's I didn't say meditation.
I mean, to be honest though, I do understand it. It's not boring. Sometimes I think one thing synthwave could do is maybe dance it up a little bit from time to time. But there's a music for all moods kind of thing, and you're talking about like calming down, and I always feel like when I listen to synthwave, it's like it's kind of like a timeless journey. That's the mood it gets me. It kind of reminds me of a better place, and it just goes on and on. And you're right, it's quite calming, especially with what's been going on with the longest election that I can ever remember. In the history of boring elections. But I'm not going to say if I don't want to talk about my political views, but let's just say, it seems a lot of people may be happy that Donald Trump has lost his seat.
Yes.
But I don't want to, split.
I may be one of those people too.
Good. All right. But I mean, it took a long time. It took a long time for that decision to.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, God. I think we all just need a break. Like, I'm positive. I'm optimistic for 2021. I think we still have a few rough months to ride out, but I'm an optimist fundamentally. I think things get bad and then they get okay again. It always happens.
They go in cycles. I'm not saying that. I don't want anyone to think I'm saying that Trump it was a good president, but I'm not going to sit here and say that he was particularly bad. I think they're all kind of as bad as each other. If you see what I mean. So like if people think it's going to be a drastic change because Trump's not there, I don't agree. I mean, there wasn't a drastic change between Obama and Trump. I can't see that being any different now. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I'd like to actually, because I think that's a good point. The thing with, I agree with you fundamentally. If you look at their positions, the Democrats and the Republicans in America, they both represent the establishment, just different flavors of the same stuff politically. But the thing for me that really, what Trump really affected, at least in my perception of America, was how he enabled the worst types of people to be racist, to be, prejudiced. I had never experienced racism in my life in America. I'm born in America. I lived in America my whole life. had never experienced racism in my whole life until Trump was around. Never.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess he does represent the worst side of right-wing politics.
Exactly.
And I certainly do not agree with any of Trump's views, really, to be honest. But what I'm trying to take is a sort of a bigger picture where I don't think there's going to be a huge swing just because Trump's been out. But I do think
I agree.
I do think that getting rid of Trump is a positive step.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
That. Talk to me about something that frustrates you when you're trying to make music, because all artists have this. What's the one thing that gets on your tits?
What gets on my tits? Let's see. For me, I work in long stretches of time. Like I need to have uninterrupted stretches of time to work on music. I need to get in the zone. And anytime I'm distracted, and the older I get, the more responsibilities I have, the harder it gets to find that uninterrupted time. But still, you know, responsibilities pile up the older and older you get.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, finding that uninterrupted time, that's really frustrating for me. And I'm just trying to think. In general, I don't feel too much stress. I love music. Like the act of making it, it's like my therapy. So I wouldn't say making music is ever frustrating for me, but certainly also dealing with all the marketing, all the uploads, all the press kits, you know, all the stuff that I'm so lazy with. That's what frustrates me. I don't want to do this.
Are you doing that by yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's. Listen, as somebody who's an artist, as somebody who runs the label, as somebody who deals with artists on a daily basis and their complaints, and I love you all, guys. Thank you. It's a lot that, you know, if you're taking it on by yourself, and I'm not, you know, promoting going to a label or anything like that. I'm just saying, I've got first-hand experience. It is a lot. There's literally everything you have to do. You have to consider every social media platform. You've got to consider your timings. You've got to consider your artwork, your videos, you know, and, you know, you're engaging. And it's absolutely exhausting, to be honest. You know, and it's hard work. And I don't, you know, I say this to a lot of individual artists who come to me, and I say, I don't envy you. You know, I do that for you, but to be honest, I get a bit like, oh, from time to time. So I cannot imagine what it's like for an individual artist doing absolutely everything. Because you know, it's from the bottom right to the top.
Right. Exactly. And more often than not, what happens is I only have so much time. I want to spend that time making music and improving my craft. You know, like I don't want to be sitting around spending my weekend, you know, sending links to people. You know, like it's tough. Oh, I don't know.
Or making sure your Bandcamp banner has got links to your social media sites, or you know, say yeah, absolutely. You know, and the thing that destroys the creativity is that you go right. I've got the day. I'm going to make some music. You sit down, you sit there, you start making music, and then you get to a certain point. You've got about 70% of the track done. You think, brilliant, you know, this is great. And then you start looking at it and you're thinking, hang on, do these drums work? You know, do I need to add a tempo variation here? You know, how am I going to mix and master this? You know, and then it all becomes a little bit complicated and boring.
Yeah, definitely. I think 70-80%, you nailed it. That's exactly where it's like the excitement and the adrenaline wears off, and then you realize all the work you have to do. Yeah. Oh man.
And you're like, everyone's gonna love this tune, and then you think, oh, hang on, no, I've got to do all of this other stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, having 100 versions of every track, you know, just like constantly. Oh, being a perfectionist. That's probably what frustrates me the most.
You know. Okay, 2 bits of advice. So we're talking about like people who want to get involved in the scene, right? They want to start out. What 2 bits of advice would you give to a new artist looking to come into the synthwave scene?
I think this is true for any scene, but even more so for synthwave. First one, I'd say lead, don't follow. It doesn't matter where you are in your career as a musician. You want to lead, not follow, whenever possible. You want to figure out what excites you and organize all your art around that, right? You should be not going and looking at what other people are doing. Sure, you appreciate other people's artwork, and sure, you steal when you need to also, absolutely steal. But in the end, it should be because that's what you chose to do as an artist, right? And I see so many people, producers getting started out in the Facebook groups, on Twitter or whatever, and they're all like, it seems like they all have this belief about themselves that they need to talk to all these musicians in order to figure out what their art is about. It's like, no, you already know what your art is about. Stick to that. Stick to what's true for you, and just make a shit ton of music. I would like, you should be making a track every week, you know, at least, right? And you'll get somewhere. You will make progress, you know?
Yeah. And even if you make a track every week and every 5th or 5th or 6th track is no good, but one is okay, then you're all right, aren't you? And you know, and I agree with what you're saying. I said this in a few other interviews. Nothing wrong with stealing like an idea or a sound from someone, as long as it's not you're not stealing the whole track. You're stealing. You say, I like that riff. I like that. I like those soft synths. I like those drums. I like that bass line. And you do something similar too, but in your own way, I think.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And then I guess second piece of advice I would say for starting out is the mix doesn't matter. Don't think about the mix. Focus on writing a good song. Do not think about the mix. The mix should be the last thing you worry about. I see a lot of artists get stuck saying like, mired in the technical details, when in reality they should be focusing on expressing themselves and understanding what they want to pursue in their art. Instead, they're saying like, oh, what should this fader be set at? And how should I set up my compressors? And it's like, you're really asking the wrong questions, right? So just get out there, make your music.
You don't mix as you go along then.
Exactly. Yeah. Or save it all till the end, like me. Just save it all till the end.
I don't want to comment on that because I know people who do and people who don't.
It's true. Yeah.
I think what works for you as an individual, but you can I understand what you're saying. I can see what you're saying, that you can get lost in the mix and then you're losing the creativity. So yeah, I can understand.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, right. I'd like to know, like, so thinking about your sound and other people in the scene, is there anyone you'd like to collab with?
Time Cop. I'd love to call out the Time Cop. And Master Boot Record as well. If I could have a bucket list, it'd be those two. Just because totally different artists when you think about it, opposite ends of the spectrum. But oh man, all three of us should do something. Now that would be interesting. Definitely check out. I don't know if you've heard of Jillian Nova. She's a good friend of mine.
Jillian who?
Jillian Nova.
Okay. I'll make sure the links are in the bottom here. Don't worry, Jillian.
Please do. She's one of my dearest friends.
Okay, I'll make sure.
Yes. I'd love to work with her. We are working on. She's actually the one who I'm working on the synthpop project with. So that's going to be her.
Is she a singer or?
She's a singer. Yes, she's a singer.
Okay, all right.
And she's learning production also. So
so guys, make sure you check out Jillian Nova. Hopefully, I'll find her YouTube channel or something like that. Links in the description below. Okay. Or anyone else?
I love Ghost also. Ghost. How would you say that? G-O-S-T? I don't know how to pronounce it.
G-H-O-S-T or G-O-S-T?
G-O.
Ghost, probably.
Ghost, yeah.
There's no H, it's not Ghost. So, yeah, Ghost.
Sorry, I don't know if we're going to collaborate on his name wrong.
We'll put his link in the description below and apologize in advance because we don't know how to. Have you ever done any live performances, or at the moment are you still just studio producing?
I've done a few like live streams, but primarily studio producing. I definitely am working on, someday touring live. Absolutely. That's 100% in the cards. Even if not for Glome, definitely for some of my side projects. Absolutely. And I am actually, one of the side projects I'm working on is a synthpop band with a vocalist friend of mine. And her and I are absolutely planning to tour once we have some material together and once COVID is obviously something.
Can we hear the name? Or?
We don't have the name yet. We do not have the name yet. It's still so early. We haven't decided, so I don't want to say something.
Submit.
But I'll certainly keep you in the loop with all that. I think you guys might think it's really cool. We're working on some very weird stuff. Interesting stuff.
Just how have you found your the live streaming performance, have you enjoyed them? What's your opinion about them overall? Do you think they're benefiting the scene? I mean, especially with the COVID-19 situation going on.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. And it's just a way for people who are into music to kind of hang out together, enjoy themselves, just like a real concert, you know? So I think it's great. And I've done like, you know, performances on stream, but I've also done like how-to things. Like on Twitch, I've gone over like making synth patches, and I've done like some small tutorials on how to build, you know, songs or synths.
Which is giving
that's
back.
really fun too.
Yeah, no, which is giving back to the scene, you know, honestly. I mean, I don't know how many how-to videos I've looked at on YouTube, for example, you know, and they've been really, like, in fact, today I was like, how to add a neon glow to text for a video.
Pretty important.
It's super important. And like, this guy was like super useful. I was like, thank you, man, thank you. You just
saved your ass.
Yeah, no, but he just saved me hours of work. You know, I watched a 6-minute tutorial. Ding, ding, ding. Thanks, mate. Cheers. You know, so no, that kind of stuff, you know, that's really giving back to the scene. And this is kind of why I do these interviews as well. I'm trying to give back to the scene and get people like you to come and speak to us and just talk, you know, just people who are artists, who also just normal people and fans of the scene who love the music.
I'm not normal.
No. Strange people, weird people, normal people, all the people, any type of person. No, but do you know what I mean? Just people.
Yeah, I know too.
People who are involved in the scene, who make music, who listen to the music, who buy the music, and who help out with, like you said, your little tutorials and so forth like that. Because you know, at the end of the day, it's a niche market, and we're all here and we're supporting each other. So you know, yeah, thanks for coming. Okay.
For sure.
Seamlessly moving into my next question. So talking about the scene, what do you reckon? Too good, too bad? What are 2 good things about the scene, 2 bad things about the scene?
I kind of mentioned it already, but people are really nice and open-minded and fun, and they want to hear every and any kind of music. You know, you don't see a lot of, sometimes you don't see like elitist types. You know, people are open, they just love music, right? They want to have a good time. Simple as that, right? And I love seeing just how active the scene is, and how even after so many years, where I think a lot of people would agree that, you know, synthwave peaked maybe a few years ago in terms of like creativity and how new and fresh it was, you know, relatively speaking. But there's so many new artists trying so many cool things, mixing so many interesting influences together and creating whole new types of music. So that's what I love about it. I love how diverse and open-minded the scene is. I guess the downside of that is I feel like there's also a lot of artists that are really just treading the same ground over and over and over. And I'm guilty of this myself too. I think everyone writes tracks like that, you know, but I want to not just listen to synthwave. I want to listen to synthwave that is just trying to be something more than the currently defined synthwave that people know, you know, mixing a new influences, just trying to push the genre forward in some way, you know. So that's why I love a lot of the synth pop acts, you know, where they have like this synthwave, you know, backing track, but then the vocals are very pop, you know, very like, you know, modern.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's why, you know, possibly sort of smaller outlets like ourselves who are reaching out to sort of the groundbreaking artists that are coming in, trying to support the scene from the grassroots up. And I'm not just talking about myself, there's loads of people out there doing that. But I you know, obviously I'll mention myself because I know that's what we do. But we are specifically looking for new artists, new sounds. And I think, you know, if we're going to break away from, you know, the gatekeepers of the scene, who are saying, oh, this has to be the sound, you know, and no disrespect to somebody like the Midnight, you know, who who are wonderful, you know, it's wonderful, but we need to, you know, and you're right, the Midnight have led the way into breaking forward in terms of like synth pop. We're becoming more of a pop scene. This is why we're getting more bands and singers and stuff. But we need to break away from just that one sound, which is the Midnight, which is fantastic, and go into different synth pop sounds, you know, from different areas and different countries. So
absolutely.
You know, I understand what you're saying, you know, and respect the past, respect where we came from, as like you do with all music, understand where we came from, but respect the fact that it's going to change. And I think if it changes, that's how the scene stays alive, because, you know, people, they love it. They absolutely love it. And people really do want to be involved in the retro scene. It kind of, for some, I think for most people, it represents a time that was maybe better. I don't know if it
exactly
was.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay, all right, listen, last question for the day, and we'll let you go. What's coming up for you in the future? Have you got any new tracks that you want to put in our synthwave chart? By the way, thank you, please do.
Yes, I certainly will. There's definitely some new stuff I'm working on. The end of the year, the goal is to have an album out. So I'm aiming for an 8 to 10 track album. So
oh, really?
I'm glad you asked me about that earlier. That is my goal, to have it finished and out there by the end of the year.
And is that going to just be digital, or are you planning for some hard copy releases?
I would love to. I would love to have some hard copy releases of it. But I'm pretty much getting ready to buckle down next year and just put some serious time and effort into it. Maybe lock myself up in a cabin in the woods somewhere. Always wanted to do that.
Yeah, no,
always wanted to do that.
Yeah, just lock yourself in a cabin. Just make sure it's got internet.
Exactly. Good to go. Good to go.
And then turn your phone off so no one can bug you while you're trying to make music. Right. No, but I mean, have you got a concept for the album, or?
Not yet, no. I mean, I have a lot of general concepts I've been playing around with. It hasn't solidified just yet. A lot of the themes, I would say, that my music goes around, obviously nostalgia being one of them. There's a lot of themes of like childhood too, and just reflections on, like you said, better times, I guess. But it's not about, for me, you know, music is so hopeful. Even the darkest music, I think, has an element of hope in it, you know? And that's really what it's about, right? Hope for the future, building something new and beautiful out of the mess we're in. So if there's the whole world seems to be in, right? So if there's anything I'd want to express on the record, it would be that.
Cool. Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. Listen, it's been absolutely fantastic talking. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak to us at RetroReverbRecords. We really appreciate it. You know, and let us know about your releases, your future stuff. We're here. We're interested. You know, and anyone else as well, pass the word, let them know. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for coming in.